you go. You come and say hello. Hi everyone, happy Sunday. Let me know if you... Oh, I need to put my light on. It's dark in here. Hold on a second. Hey guy. Turn the light off. Oh, there we go. Light. Helen turned my light off. All right. So today what we're going to do is a bit of seed planting. I've got lots of spring and summer seeds that I want to plant. So I've got some trays all lined up here. And then we are also going to make some little seed trays out of some recycled things. Like I've got some toilet rolls here that we can make seed trays out of, and these little newspaper pots. And I'll show you some of the seeds that I've already got growing, including these little microgreens here, and all my tips for planting, how deep to plant the seeds. And yeah, so if you've got any questions about seeds, then definitely leave me any of the questions in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Let me know what you've been planting lately. It is spring next week, isn't it? Well, it is for us over here. If you're joining from the other side of the world, it will be not spring. What will it be? Winter? Hi, Barry. All right. So, I don't know where to start. I get so excited planting seeds. It is one of my favorite things to do. And I've got this box of seeds that we chose a few weeks ago on one of my lives. So I have planted some already. You can't quite see, it's just out of the frame. What have we got here? So we've got some little ones already popping up, and these are painted mountain corn. So I'm doing one variety of corn, and then once those have started growing a bit, I'll plant a few different varieties so that they are all ready at different times, and so I don't get cross-pollination with them. What else have I got? Some purple Cherokee tomatoes. And I got some tomatoes, some yellow tomatoes, and some white wonder cucumber, and the cucumbers have already popped up. And then these ones here, this is my microgreens. This is like only a week. I think it's a week of growth, and they're pretty much ready to go. I can start chopping those up and popping them on my dishes. A lot of them, look, these ones here are like all pea shoots, and then there's heaps of different little microgreens under there that are starting to come through. Right, who's here? Yeah, you made it. The snails eat my seeds. Oh no, yes. So that is one of the reasons I like to start my seeds off inside, is because especially now it's still a little bit cold outside, and to get those seeds germinating and growing really fast, we want to try and keep them as warm as we can. So I start mine off inside, and that also means we can stop a lot of the bugs getting to them while they're young and delicate. Although there are some bugs that still make it inside, and I have been getting a few of them, but I've been using cinnamon to stop the little, you know, the little, I think they're called gnats, the little flying insects that live in the soil, and they like really moist soil. But I found that if I sprinkle on a little bit of cinnamon, and you can probably see it in here, and on you can see that is just cinnamon, which smells nice, and it stops lots of those little bugs eating the seeds and the seedlings. Because what they do is they just gnaw away at So that one there's been gotten. He's got no greens have been taken off by a bug. Oh, you can see a few there. But yeah, I found that the cinnamon has really helped keep a lot of those away. So I'll be using that again on these ones that we plant. Hopefully I don't make too much of a mess. I have some newspaper. So yeah, these are, well, this was just a microgreen mix, and some of them are snow peas. And because they've been growing inside, I'm not going to let them get any bigger than this. I'm just going to cut them off and start using them now, just as microgreens on top of my dishes, which I haven't done before. So I am looking forward to trying that. And yeah, all right, let's get started. I'll try and move this so we can see more of what's going on. What are you most excited to grow next? I can't wait to get cucumbers and tomatoes. That is what I'm looking forward to. I miss like just homegrown tomatoes, so good. And cucumbers, I think are one of my favorite. They're so fresh and like taste like summer to me. Like a cucumber sandwich. I just eat cucumber by itself. A little bit of salt. All right. I don't know what. Let's plant. I'm going to plant some more tomatoes. A few more zucchini. Let's see what we've got here. These are my cucumbers. Or some big rainbow tomatoes. I definitely want to plant some of them. So these little seed, I always get asked where I get the seed tray from. It's not very helpful because I have no idea. Someone gifted this to me. So it's got individual little seed pots and then it's in a tray. So it's easy to carry them all around. But you could just get a tray and then pop your individual ones in there, like these little ones here. Heirloom tomatoes every day. I should go them. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. I love planting seeds because yeah, every day they change, they pop up, or if they haven't popped up and you're like there every day, like checking, is that a seed or is that just a piece of bark? I get so impatient. All right. So in these little ones here, I usually plant just a couple, and I just put it, pretty much just plonk them straight on there. And the seed raising mix that I've got here is a little mix that I made of, it's like a seed raising cutting mix. And then I've also mixed in some of my own soil, which is a little bit sandy, which helps keep some good drainage in there. So I'm just going to do 4 and I'm kind of spacing them out. Yeah, it doesn't matter too much which way up these go, the tomato seeds, because they will right themselves if they are not on the right direction. So this is just some of the soil that I have here, and then I'm just going to sprinkle, try not to get any of the bigger bits of bark because they will be too heavy and block out the light. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on there, just until I can't see them anymore. And then just that. So the depth that you want to plant them is usually written on the packet, but it's usually just double what they are. So if they're only little, just only sprinkle a little bit on top, and if they're a little bit bigger, more. But mainly till they're just lightly covered. Okay, we now need to name them. That is one of the trickiest parts. I've tried a few different ways, color coding them and then putting the names in my phone, or writing it on pegs, like wooden pegs, and then clipping it to the side. That works quite well as well if you've got some wooden pegs. At the moment, I've just got a whole bunch of these little wooden ice block sticks. So I'm just using those because I've already got them. But if you've got any other great ideas for labeling your seeds and your seed trays, let me know. It's something that I'm not very strict on, which makes it hard sometimes because you're like, oh, what one were those? So I am trying better this year. So I've got my ice block sticks to name the seeds. Ice block sticks. QR codes. That sounds fancy. How do you do that? I need to know more about that. Yeah, and sometimes I even just would like map out lines on the tray and then just be like, that whole row is going to be these tomatoes, that whole row is this. That makes it easy as well. And I'll just put a note in my phone for that. All right. Thought I was organized, but clearly not. I don't know where my little ice block sticks are. Let's find some. More corn too. I'm excited. I've got all these like different types of corn. So the rainbow glass corn, mini blue corn. Those fun corns can be quite hard to find here in WA because you can't import them. So you've got to find some that are already in. Blue corn. Might do a few rows of that. Or green corn, blue or green. It's so hard when you don't have big gardens and you just want to plant everything. I just end up planting way too many things, but that's okay. Let's get these corn. I'm just gonna, these ones are a bit of a bigger seed. Pop them in. Push it down a little bit. And then sprinkle this on top. So corn pops up pretty quickly, like those ones there popped up. I feel like within a few days, as long as you keep them nice and moist, like well watered, they pop up really quick. And cucumbers as well, they pop up really quick. Tomatoes take a little bit longer. Okay, I need to get my ice block sticks, don't I? Otherwise I'm gonna get lost here. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I want more corn than that? No, I think that's a good number. I've only got a few left in here. We'll just plant the whole lot. Oh, it's so big. Yeah, I'm just going to plant the whole lot. Blue corn for the win. So start your seeds off inside. You want to have them somewhere where they get plenty of light, and that can be quite hard when they're inside because if you've got here in Perth, we've got heaps of the buildings have like big undercover areas, so it doesn't allow a lot of sunlight to come right into the house. So just find your sunniest window and then set up like a bench, or for me, the kitchen bench is pretty good. I've also got this little grow light that I will show you that I can put some of my seeds under as well, which is what I grew all of these in, and it's so quick and easy. But yeah, a nice sunny windowsill. It's good to put them on a tray, or I also use like storage containers to move them around if you need to move them around the house, because again, like sometimes the window only has sun for half the day, so you need to move them to another spot. So it can be quite a task to get good sunlight inside. A greenhouse would obviously be amazing. But I feel like a greenhouse here in Perth would need to be a shade house for most of the year because it's so hot. There's no way you'd want anything in there in summer unless it was a shade house. So you'd need to be able to convert it from shade to greenhouse. And then what I'll do is I will take these outside afterwards and give them a good water to moisten up all that new soil that we've just put on there. I can see one peeping through there. Just lightly cover it. And then I'm just going to put some of the cinnamon on top, just the ones that I've planted so that I know which ones I have put seeds in, and stop those annoying little gnats. Steve's here, all is well. All right. Oh, and I put this one as the little rainbow tomatoes. Okay. So we've got the blue corn, rainbow tomatoes. There's 4 of them in there, which probably is enough. And what have I got? Cherry tomatoes, purple tomatoes, yellow tomatoes. So I've got a few tomatoes on the go. I've got 2 types of cucumber on the go. But corn, just planted more corn. Let's plant some flowers. We've got to have edible flowers for the bees and because I like to use them in my cooking. So I'm going to do giant Russian sunflowers. And then these ones are also, these are a hybrid, golden prominence. So let's do, well, a few of those. I'm just going to put a little indent into there because they're quite big seeds. Sprinkle a little bit of this. It's like cake making. Bit of that. Has anyone else tried the cinnamon thing? Sounds bizarre, but it definitely works. Finish this row of sunflowers. So the cinnamon is just to stop those little gnats, the bugs, especially when you've got your seeds starting off inside. Could be good on houseplants too. Smells good. So yeah, just make sure there's no big chunks of bark or anything. If there is, just take them out. You don't want those in there. I'm just getting soil all over my kitchen bench, but that's okay. All right. So once I finish these, we'll make some of the recycled seed pots after this, and I'll show you 3 different ways that I do that. We just need to plant 4 more things in this tray. Let's see what I've got. Cornflowers will do. I usually plant directly into the garden. Some things I'll sow in little pots first, and some things I put directly in the garden, and that sort of depends on what they are. So a lot of the flowers I like to just directly sow into the garden, and I'll just spread them all around. That way I don't have to individually take them out and replant them. I also direct sow my pumpkins into the garden, and I have done some already. So these are tiny. So I'm going to put just sprinkle a few in there. But then, yeah, I'll have to separate them out afterwards once they're a bit bigger. So we'll do 4 in there. I just find it so much easier to plant these directly into the garden because then I don't have to deal with splitting them up. Carrots is another thing, and radishes, all those sort of root vegetables I directly sow into the garden. Again, because it's much easier than trying to remove them from these little pots. And carrots don't like being transplanted and split up from here, so it's better to plant them directly into the garden. And some of the bigger seeds, like pumpkin, are pretty hardy, and I can grow them directly in the garden as well. The only thing you have to watch out for with these larger seeds, like the pumpkin and the squash, sometimes even the cucumber, is mice and rats like to find these. So if you do directly sow them in the garden, or you have them in seed trays outside, just be aware of that. I have had that happen before where I had some seed trays of pumpkins and stuff, and I went out and there's just like these holes dug, and then like parts of the seed left, the husk was left behind, and they'd eaten the seed. So that was really, really annoying. So now that's why I start these inside, so the little mice can't get to them. And then I only have to or snails or slugs or anything like that. So I just have to worry about the little gnats, which we've got the cinnamon for. Sprinkle, sprinkle. Tips for keeping away white butterflies. So they've been so bad this year, and I find each year I have a different type of pest that is worse than other years. Those green caterpillars and white butterflies this year have definitely been so bad in my garden. So I manually take them off. So I'll go out and just check all my under the leaves and just take off any of those green caterpillars. My mum and dad had problems with them as well, and they actually made little white butterflies. They just cut little white butterflies out of like recycled lids and stuff like that, like white lids, like yogurt containers, and made little butterflies on sticks and put them in the garden because apparently they're territorial, and so they don't like hanging out where other white butterflies are. They worked. They did work. We watched them, but they didn't hold out forever. I think after a while, the butterflies figured out that they were fake butterflies. But I mean, I think it did work for a while. So another way that you can stop the white butterflies is you having to net. They mainly go for your cabbages and brassicas, and so your broccoli, cabbage, all that sort of stuff. That's what they love. So if you just net those, that can stop them as well. I've also seen people use like a mix of chili and garlic and water in a spray bottle and sprayed that onto the garden. So that could be worth trying as well. Now that they've just gone out of control, I've sort of finished up with all my brassicas. It's turning into a nightmare of just too much white butterflies. So I've got heaps of cauliflowers and cabbages this season. So I've sort of moving on. I'm just like, okay, you win. I'll move on to the next one. Start my tomatoes and my cucumbers, and then I can just worry about slugs and snails. Which for slugs and snails, I use crushed up eggshells, and I'll put them around the base of the veggies. And I also just check on my gardens a lot and pull off any of the slugs and snails. A dog fight in my backyard. Oh, it's been so bad with those white butterflies. All right, just need to put these on. And we're done with those. I will take them outside and give them a good water. I do need to put labels on these though. I'll go and grab my labels and do that before I forget. Because there's one random tomato here, and then we've got cornflowers, sunflowers, and corn. That's all I did, isn't it? See, I'm already forgetting. This is why you need a label as you go. I'm just gonna write it on a piece of paper that I'll do later. Sunflowers. I'm going to plant so many sunflowers, pretty much any space in my garden after I finish planting all my tomatoes and cucumbers and all the things that I want to plant. I'm going to fill all the gaps with sunflowers because they're one of my favorite, and you can the bees love them, and they're edible, and they improve the soil as well. So sunflowers are really good at helping with any toxins that are in the soil. So I always love to grow sunflowers. The only thing we have to watch out for is the cockatoos and the parrots finding them, and when they've got the seeds, they'll just make such a mess. But I also don't mind that as well. Like I can have some, they can have some, we can all share. What was the corn? It was the blue corn, wasn't it? Just do this until I label them later, and I've got cornflowers. All right, very good. Move those out of the way. All right, let's make some recycled pots. So if you don't have any seed trays, if I ever buy any seeds in seed trays, I always keep them and I'll recycle those. That's ones like these. So I always recycle those, and you can usually pick those up. Lots of people have them, want to get rid of them. But if you don't have those, then you can also make your own seed trays. Some of the ones that I've done is the little toilet roll pots. So that is, you can either cut the toilet roll in half or use it full size. And to make that, we just get some scissors. We'll cut this one in half. And then just make 4 cuts. I guess it's about halfway up. And then you just fold it in clockwise. So we've got 1 folded in, 2 folded in, 3. I'm doing this very rough. And then the 4th one, you try and tuck under the first one that you did, which can be a little bit tricky, but there we go. Squash it down. And you can see, so now it's just folded in there, and you've got a little pot, and we can fill this with soil. And you've got yourself a little recycled pot to plant your seeds in. Now, I've tried these a few different ways and a few different times. You can plant these directly into the garden because obviously this will break down. But what I find is that the seed grows a lot faster than what this breaks down. So it ends up trapping the root system in there. So what you want to do is when you plant them, either like unfold the bottom of this so the roots can then grow through the bottom, or just remove the seedling from here, like using a teaspoon, dig up the seedling, plant that in the garden, and then you can pop this in the compost to break down. That has worked for me because otherwise, yeah, you're just like basically trapping the root system in here. And then these can hold some of the moisture and stop the moisture getting to the seeds into the roots in here. So it ends up being a barrier basically. So you want to make sure you release them so they can grow down, the roots can grow down, or you just take them out of the little pot completely. But they're a really good way to make a whole bunch of little seed trays. And then what I do with it, if you've got egg cartons, these can be seed trays as well. So what I like to do is cut it down the middle. And then you can fill all these up with soil and use that as a little seed tray. And then this one here, you can do the same. You can plug those holes with a little bit of extra cardboard, fill that up with soil, and then use it like a tray like this. Or you can use it to pop your little toilet roll ones in. If you make them like that, your little tray. So that's a few different ways to use those to make seed trays. The other way that I have done as well, and again, like with these, if you're wanting to plant these in the garden, I just use a teaspoon and dig once the seed's growing, dig that up and then pop this in the compost. Chop it up in small pieces and pop it in the compost so it can break down quicker. And then we have our little newspaper pots. So these are really cool as well. I have done a video on these a while ago, but they're really easy to make. To make these little newspaper pots, you just need a jar. So any size jar, depends on how big you want the pot. This newspaper is kind of wet now. Let's try this. I don't even find newspapers very often, and hardly ever get newspaper now. These are just some random local ones that I got in the mail. So I'm going to do it. Depends on, so you're going to fold down the top of the pot and you're going to fold up. You want to have some that goes below the jar so you can fold it up and make a base. So depends. So I'm going to probably do it about halfway up this jar, but then cut and leave some below the jar. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm just going to put the jar here and then I'm going to make the cut probably a couple inches past the bottom of the jar. Like that. All right. And then all you do, this one's a bit wet, hopefully it doesn't stick. So we've got our jar here and we've got, this is the end of the jar, and we've got some extra here, which is just like probably 2 inches. Roll it up like that. And then fold the bottom over, and you want to try and fold that and make the creases on that as tight as you can. And then you just pull your jar out, fold the top down. It's actually kind of tricky to fold, but just go around. And this newspaper's wet from my seed tray being on there. And there you go. So it will sit flatter once it's got soil in it. It'll weigh it down and it will sit nice and flat. And you've got another recycled seed tray. This one's quite tall, so I can fold it down a little bit more to make it a little bit smaller. And same thing as before, if you're planting this in the garden, I would release the bottom before I planted it, or I'd just unravel the whole thing and plant the seedling, and then pop the newspaper in the compost. So just put some soil in there, push it down. That'll keep the base nice and flat. Here we are, got another little, just throwing dirt everywhere, seed tray, pot. You got little recycled pots, and let's plant them. We may as well. We've got soil in them. What should we put? I'll put some zucchinis in there because I wanted to plant a few more zucchinis. If I can find my zucchini. Where is it? Oh, watermelon. Maybe I'll plant some watermelon in there too. Let's do a watermelon. Got stars and moon. Watermelon. I'll plant. Might do 2 in each. So with these bigger seeds, you can see which way up they plant. They go. This is hard, so small. So the pointy bit at the bottom goes down. So the root's going to come out of here, and then that's the way I like to plant them. So pointy end down. It doesn't matter too much. They will still right themselves and grow, but it is a lot more efficient. That doesn't have to waste any energy trying to flip itself over. So if you can get them planted the right way up for those bigger seeds, it will help. And that is the same with like your pumpkin seeds. And you'll notice when they grow these cucumbers, you'll see the little husk. They'll be captured in the little husk, and you'll see which way up it's grown. It's always interesting to watch that. Egg boxes when finished. Yes, you can feed your egg trays to the worms too. So many ways to use them. And I find they'll break down a lot quicker if you've already planted in them, because they are a little bit more soggy and they hold the moisture. All right, so we've got our watermelon in there. There's the zucchini. Let's put a little zucchini in these toilet pots. So if you've got any questions about planting seeds, definitely let me know in the comments. I'll have a look in a second and I'll answer any of those. And just remember that the seeds are going to grow a lot. They'll have more chance of growing in the soil than they will in the packet. So if in doubt, just give it a try. Just get the seeds in the soil. And just, yeah, give it a crack. See how you go. Zucchini. All right, so these are the golden zucchini. I grow these. I've grown these nearly every year, and I love them. And again, you can see. I don't know if you can see. So one end has got a little bit more of a pointy bit. And just make a little divot with your finger first. Don't ram the seed in because you might damage it. And these ones are a bit bigger, so you want to make sure that they are covered with about the same amount of soil as they are long. So that is like a good centimetre of soil will pop on top. And then water these in. I'm not going to water them here because I need to take them outside. Bringing my hose in to the kitchen is probably frowned upon. So I feel like I've done that before. I won't say that too loudly. Okay. And the thing with these newspaper pots is that you can write what you've planted on the pot itself. So these ones were the watermelon. And just make sure you don't use pen that washes off in water. Sounds like common sense, but I have done that before. I thought I was writing on with a Vivid, and I wrote on all my seeds, and then I watered them, and then all the labels were gone. And there was nothing I could do about it. It just became lucky dip surprise, which is kind of the way it is around here anyway. And then these ones were the golden zucchini, and I can write on that. Probably write on these before you put soil in them. there we go. Some more seeds planted. And I'll show you my indoor grow garden thingy in the jig that I grew these in. So I've got it just off camera, which I'll bring around. So if you do live in an apartment or you don't have extension lead, this quarters. So yeah, these are really good for small space gardens. That's quite bright. But yeah, I just pop them under this light, and it's got a timer so you can put it on for 8 hours or whatever you like, and you can adjust the height. So with this one here, I had the light up a bit higher, and because these ones are just small and just coming up. Oh, we do have one popping up in here. What is that guy? Market More Cucumber. So yeah, you can grow herbs on your kitchen bench and things like that. But I'm starting my seeds with that. That way I can grow my seeds in the laundry where there isn't any light. And then the rest of them can go in the kitchen. Little trays. All right, let's see what we got going on in the comments. If you've got any questions, I'll answer those. I've got soil everywhere. I tried to put the newspaper down to be a little bit more tidy, but this is more an outside job than a kitchen bench job. But okay. Newspaper, I can cut this up as well. This is all soggy and got soil, and I'll pop that in the compost. It's always hard trying to find enough carbon and brown to put in the compost, so that will be good. All right. Steve, you would be a good moderator. I might need one. Oh, you overdid the zucchini. That happens. Zucchini are obviously, when they grow abundantly. So you need to be prepared to get really creative. Otherwise, you're going to have the same zucchini all the time. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, is trying to come up with lots of new and interesting ways to use your vegetables so that you don't get sick of them, you don't get bored with them. And there's so many different ways that you can use these veggies that you just might not have even thought of. With zucchini, I made some delicious zucchini brownies, zucchini cake, fritters, roasted using zucchini as pasta. Oh, there's like so many different ways that you can get creative, and so you don't get sick of the same thing. But I do know how it feels. I pretty much go in every second season. So I did a whole lot of pumpkins. I grew so many pumpkins, and I did get really, really creative with using pumpkins. But this last season, I was quite glad that I didn't have any pumpkins, because I was a little bit pumpkined out. But now I'm like, oh, I need pumpkins. So I'm back into it in the second year. So that can be another way that you can do it, is just like every second year you can focus on growing something different, and that way you don't get sick of it. And then you can look forward to growing it again, which is again why it's really nice to have seasons, because we haven't been growing tomatoes since summer, so it's been a few months now, and I'm super excited to get back and growing tomatoes. So it's nice to have a little break from it and then get stuck into it again. I think my gardening is teaching. Oh no. You just need to come up with some like really interesting ways to cook them. Lots of sauces as well is good if you don't like veggies as much, as putting lots of delicious sauces on them. That's good. Where did you get the grow light? I'll try and find the link to the grow light, and I'll pop it in the description. I think there's a few of them around now. This one is really good though. I haven't seen anyone like this. So yeah, I'll leave the link to that if I can find it. in the description. Just trying to see what else we've got in here. I don't want to miss any of your comments. Put the dog outside. Oh, he's gone. I don't know where he is anyway. Yeah. All right, so it's just a little bit of a quick one really today. That's all I wanted to show you was my recycled seed pots, what I'm planting. I'm probably going to do some more planting in the next, not this week, the week after, because I'm sort of doing it every week or every couple of weeks. I'm planting new things so that I can get some succession planting, and that way they won't all be ready at the same time. And I'm starting to clear out a lot of my beds with what my winter veggies. So I've taken out a lot of the brassicas and stuff now, and I'm getting more space. And as I get that space, I'm going to add in some more compost into my gardens so that these seeds here that are going to be getting closer to going outside, I'll have space for them. And I'll transition them outside slowly. So once they get up and they get a little bit stronger, I'll pop them out during the day and so I can get some sun, and then I'll bring them back in at night because it is still getting quite cold here. I don't know what temperatures are, but like I feel like they've been around 5 degrees sometimes in the mornings or at night. But that is definitely going to warm up again soon. So once I have hardened them off by just taking them outside for small amounts of time, they'll be strong and I can pop them into my gardens because there'll be more space there. And what companion plants do you use? So the way that I sort of do things is I'll plant the main plants first. So whether that be, so I've got one bed that I've got mapped out. This is going to be my cucumber bed. So I'll plant the cucumbers in there first. Then I'll have one with corn in it, and then I'll have one with tomatoes in it. And they'll be like the main plants for that box. And then what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll plant a lot of edible flowers. I'll do the flowers because they'll attract pollinators. So with the tomatoes, I'll tend to put in heaps of basil as well, because usually what grows together goes together. So tomatoes and basil go really well together. And because they are in separate planter boxes, I don't need really to worry too much about ones that don't get along because they're not necessarily close to each other anyway. And so then I'll pop in my edible flowers. So whether that is like marigolds, those are also really good for keeping the bugs away. And then I'll put in some more herbs as well in the places, like maybe some parsley and those kitchen herbs that I use all the time. And then in any of the gaps, if I ever have gaps, I plant radishes. I love planting radishes because they're really quick growing. And so while these plants aren't, big and shading out the garden yet, I can plant lots of radishes and lettuces and some smaller things that don't mind a little bit of shade, but they're also really quick to grow, because by the time they are ready to go and harvest, then these ones will just be taking off. So that works really well, is utilizing the space as well, because I don't have huge gardens. So I want to try and get as much food growing in a small space as I can. So if I utilize that different height levels and space well, I can grow heaps of food. And then, like have things on climbers. What else? I've done the corn as well. I usually plant corn where my pumpkins are, because pumpkins and watermelons and things like that grow along as a vine, unless you have them growing up trellises. But I tend to just let mine sprawl down the driveway. And so then I can plant the corn in between those, because that's going to go upright really vertically, and it's going to take that space there, whereas the pumpkins are growing along the ground. So that's another way to utilize your space as well, is just think about how they grow, how tall they grow, and can you have a ground cover and then have some different height levels. Sort of like a food forest as well, of just your annuals and your garden beds, and that way you can grow a whole lot more food. There's one that's called like the Three Sisters with the corn, the pumpkin. What's the third one? I grew it last year. If you know, write it in there, because I can't think of the third one. It must be something that climbs up the corn. Beans. I think it's beans. So you've got your ground cover of your pumpkins, then you've got your next layer is the corn, which is strong and tall, and then you can grow, I'm pretty sure it's beans, correct me if I'm wrong, that will vine up all of them. And that way, yeah, you're utilizing all your space. So you use that sort of in all my gardens, really, is trying to maximize what I can grow in a small space by thinking about different layers and what will grow together. Oh my gosh, I can't even read what's in my own mind. Sunflowers are good. And yes, and sunflowers as well grow really tall and strong. So you can often use those as climbing poles for things. Especially the giant sunflowers, they grow really tall. I think mine are all usually over 6 foot, 7 foot in the garden. And then also think about the shading if they're going to shade things out as well, because some of those ones that are big and tall can provide shade. So if you've got some more shade-loving plants, you can grow those underneath. And that's how I tend to grow some of my rainbow chard all year round, is by planting it where things are going to shade it out, so it keeps nice and shady and because it doesn't like full sun. Yeah, I just can't wait to get these all in the garden and get growing. I'll plant some, I tend to plant all my seeds like this inside, and then I may get a few seedlings from that have already grown, already seedlings, and plant them like now. That way I can get a little bit more succession as well, because I've got some really on the go. And yeah, then just put flowers everywhere, edible flowers everywhere for the bees, and the pollination that will help bring like lots of bees to my gardens for pollination, for my cucumbers, for my tomatoes. I'll get better crops if I've got those pollination. And I try and plant a lot. I found a lot of, because I've been watching the bees for a few years now, I'm trying to encourage a lot of the native bees into my garden, especially the blue banded bees, because they are really good for pollinating tomatoes. So they are really big bees, and they like have this vibrating buzz, and it helps with the tomatoes because that's how tomatoes get pollinated. So I like to plant a lot of flowers that will attract those. And so far I've found like the cornflowers are really popular with the bees, and also the radishes, letting them go to flower. I've found the plants that I've let go to flower is what the native bees like the most. So if I let any radishes go to flower, if I've got any lettuces that have gone to flower, and by going to flower, I mean like they've gone to seed and flower, and I found the native bees really like those. So then I just let them go, and that way they put their seeds they put the seeds all through the garden anyway, and I don't have to plant them. They just pop up. Like I have so many celery plants popping up because I let it go to seed. I have celery growing in all my paving cracks, the cracks in the pavement. There's celery growing in there, and nasturtiums growing in my lawn. So now all my weeds are edible, and that's great. It's a lot less effort and a lot more food when they just grow wildly by themselves, which is why I'll let a lot of my things go to seed. Oh, bloomers everywhere. A lot of bloomers. All right, well, if no one has any other questions, do you eat wood sorrels? No, I haven't. Is that like a type of greens? Is that a weed? It's a weed, isn't it? I'm trying to learn more about weeds because they grow so well, and they're the sour weeds. But I have tried them. I'm getting better at utilizing the weeds in the garden and identifying them, because yeah, if they want to grow and they're edible, they'll get eaten. So I'm definitely expanding on that. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and getting in amongst the chat. You guys are awesome, and I really thank you for making this fun. And I will be back next week. I'll pop up I've been trying to do it as far ahead as I can, like 4 to 5 days notice, so that then you can click notifications and get a reminder when I go live, because I'm not always 100% consistent, but I'm trying. I'm going to try for Sunday, 4 o'clock, so that I can keep that consistent and you can all know when it's going to be going live. So I'll hopefully see you back here next Sunday. And 20 watches. Thank you. Yes, it's getting better and better every week. There's more people showing up. There's more people hopping in the comments, and it is so fun to see. So thank you guys. And I will catch you next week. I hope you have an amazing week ahead and that you get to plant some seeds, because you need to get those seeds in the soil for them to start growing. Yeah, catch you guys next week.